entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? Like many of us, I'm sure you're feeling it. Business is hard. And now more than ever, you need to have a plan to help your business not just survive, but thrive. I'm Marcia Reiner. I'm a profit and business strategist on a mission. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability and guides your growth. I want to share strategies that I've earned and learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. Wait, but before we get started, I have something I want to share with my listeners. I put together 6 easy tips to implement that will help you improve your profitability right now. You can go pick those up on my website at trajectorybiz.com. That's trajectorybiz.com. So I'm really excited to have my guest on today. He's a dear friend of mine. We've been collaborating and connecting and sharing. I'm just loving Cade. So Cade Collins is the CEO, founder, and managing director of Synergy Collaborations, where he helps entrepreneurs and business owners to find their voice, grow their authority as they expand their business and personal brands presence online. After working for Fortune's most admired company in healthcare and a lifetime of preparation, we've all been there, Cade went full-time on his own company in the middle of a great shutdown of 2020 with the mission to find hope and to bring light for others. With nearly 10 years experience in sales and marketing, along with bachelor's from the University of Oregon in sociology and general social sciences, he's a brainiac, Cade has a passion for creating collaborations between businesses and individuals. He currently lives in Salem, Oregon with his fiance, and I love her, where they're enjoying traveling and documenting their content for their travel blog and enjoying some of the best food spots. Cade, I love you. I'm so glad you're here on Profit with a Plan podcast. Welcome.
Well, it's such a privilege. It's a pleasure. The energy and everything is right back towards you. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're here to talk today about really how to get your presence and everything out there. And I thought you're perfect for this because you share so much and you collaborate. And I've been watching and reading all your content, and it hits home. It's so personal. It's so engaging, and it's really just it's an attractive thing. And I find that business owners have challenges being attractive to their ideal client.
Right.
So how did you come about all this and getting where you are?
No, I so appreciate it. And, it really is that journey. When I was introduced to social media, in college about maybe 9 years ago, I remember posting on Instagram, and I was involved in a network marketing or online marketing, gig in college. And some of the most successful people that I'd ever met, I'd surrounded myself and always been told by my mother, like, you are the result of the 5 people you surround yourself the most. So I tried so hard to push myself and find people that are just like making changes. And this group in college stuck out, and essentially they were online entrepreneurs. They were using social media, and, they were making viral videos before I really understood what a viral video was, but they were doing it by providing this value, right? Like they were creating content that didn't just sell. So like the old age, right? Like people grab your attention so they can provide you a commercial. They were creating content by sharing in the life of an entrepreneur, right? Like they were these college kids that had essentially dropped out of college. And I finished college, as Marcia shared in the intro. I ended up sticking with it, but essentially they had this lifestyle that was unique, and they were doing it by doing different things. And they got this level of scale where, they had thousands of people joining their online or marketing business, and they had never even met them, never even talked to them in person. But because of the videos they were putting out, because of the different collaborations they were doing on Facebook, they were pulling in this new audience. But what I found was they were pulling in their dream customer because they had cracked this code of sharing their authentic self. And you can cut me off at any time here, but I'm going to talk a little bit in this podcast about, finding that dream customer and making sure that the person you're attracting in, if you're going to be working specifically with that client, or you're in a client service agency like we are, you have to make sure that you're attracting the right people, because, we can always make more money. We can always find more opportunities for cash flow, but we don't get that time back. And if you're doing something that you're miserable, or working with people that make you miserable, it might not necessarily be the profit business strategy that we're looking for. But it is definitely a strategy I think a lot of us fall victim to. And I'm speaking from experience here. So essentially how this all came roundabout, I, ended up working for, a great company for about 5 years. But after I'd left that network marketing company, that's a different story. And I needed to save up. I needed to put some more capital aside so I can go into my business. And also I had student loan debt to pay off. So I got a job, right? And I was doing sales in the Pacific Northwest. And, I listened to someone, Gary V. I'm going to continue to mention him because he had these philosophies, and I had gotten to hear him speak live when I was in college. And he would talk about how we need to be publishing more and how we needed to document, not create. And when I saw his methodologies and saw how he was able to show up in a genuine manner, it was something that I got hooked on. I started learning everything I could about it. And then, we'll talk about some of the strategies we employ now, but that's really the origin story of how we got excited about, showing up with such a volume of content and really just kind of giving people the behind the scenes of our entrepreneurial journey.
I love that, because it's not content. It's not something designed to sell. Like you're like, oh, well, let me tell you the story about this, because over here behind the curtain has really the offer I'm trying to hit you with. But it's documenting.
Right.
It's saying, here's what I'm going through. And you may be attracted to this because you may be going through this too.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. So cool.
So sorry, but just to say that, like, document to show that authentic self, right? And we see so much on social media, people aren't necessarily they're documenting only what they want people to see. And there's a difference when we say document. It's like, no, we're documenting the journey, man. Like the ups, the downs every day. Right before this podcast, I think I tweet like, I'm so excited for this podcast interview. Like, we are documenting the journey, making it, just making it happen, because we believe in this new realm of credibility that, hasn't been tapped into, but it's definitely going to control attention in the future. At least that's my opinion. I
think that's a great opinion. And I think the difference, authenticity is a big word out there everybody's using, but it's fake. Like you said, they're trying to only show you this side of the authenticity, not the other side of the authenticity, like
curated authenticity. Let's call it that.
That's fantastic. Tag that word, curated authenticity, because that's fantastic, because that's what you're seeing. You're really not seeing the truth of what the struggles people go through and everything that they have, and the attractiveness. And what attracts me to you, besides, just the friendship we have, is the real story. Hey, it's your boy Cade, right? Yep. You start off your emails and you come in and you have these things, and it's like, hey, this is what we're going through today, or hey, I had a rough time, or it's great.
Yeah,
I'm loving it. So let me ask you a question. How do you get comfortable with opening up your kimono and showing everybody all the potentially ugly or dirty sides of us?
Totally. I think it's a great question. And it's that fear that anyone is really experiencing when they haven't started posting or publishing anything, when you don't know, or people going to judge you, or you think people will, you have those fears, or are you incorrect in your thesis? Like all these things that we come to this conclusion, little do we know, not many people are going to see it, or really, is it going to have the spread that it might think that we could? So essentially the drawbacks that we build in our head are so much worse than the actual reality of just sucking it up and trying and posting it. But it comes from also, I had this like philosophy going into, my 28th year. So I met Jim Rohn virtually when I was in 2013. So I was in my 20s. And he talked about measuring yourself and hitting goals. And to do that, you had to analyze where your progress was on a consistent basis. And I started to break down the goals of my life and my business into these different values, is what we called them. We now call them principles, but it's health, wealth, happiness, spirit, personal development, community, and creation. And I started to just journal once a quarter. Where am I today? Where do I want to go? And what do I need to do to make it that way? Here's the secret I think that most people miss out on. And if you're just like me, this is probably what you did. You find out where you are, you figure out where you want to go, you write down exactly what you need to do to make it that way. And you maybe do that for the first week, or you maybe do that for 3 weeks in a row. There was no time where I was still doing the same thing I said I needed to do the quarter before, unless it was something that was just arbitrary or something I enjoy that didn't actually build me and bring me towards my goals. And this doesn't just apply in our lifestyle, it applies in our business, right? Where are we today with our leads? Where do we want to go with our leads? What do we need to do to generate more leads, right? Like this is with sales, conversions, retention, all these things. You can measure your business this way. I just started measuring it, my lifestyle, because Jim Rohn taught us this methodology. And the reason I'm saying that is I really was thinking about, where do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30? And I got that, like, I was obsessed of like, well, Jim Rohn taught me this. I met that man after he died, right? He died in 2008. I watched his video in 2013. It's a 4-hour lecture that was free on YouTube. And I'm listening to it like it's the gospel. And it's absolutely changing my life, changing who I hang out with, changing the decisions I make in saving, helping me pay off debt, like absolutely revolutionizing and having a positive influence on my life. And that's where I come to this conclusion that positive influence. Well, I want to be an influencer. Right? That's where I'm thinking now. And that's where I stand a little different than most people, especially if you're under 20 on TikTok. An influencer in my realm is a lot different than the 20,000 followers on TikTok or Facebook, and you post your pictures and like you're just that's not what I mean by influence here. I mean someone that is influencing, whether it's one person, multiple people, a community, a tribe. That's the influencer. So I figured I wanted to do that. And I saw how people were doing it. They're doing exactly what you're doing with your podcast, right? They're creating and having people on that can learn and share these journeys and bring these experiences. So you don't have to fall into the pitfalls that other people have done before you, and also can inspire and move you forward with new strategies that you're bringing on with your own frameworks. And that's what's so exciting. I wanted to be able to do that same thing. And I really wasn't confident on camera. I didn't.
Is anybody? I mean, gosh, that takes a while.
It takes a while. And to prove it, I did this thing with my fiance, fast forward, right? June 1st, 2019, measuring myself on health, wealth, happiness, spirit, personal development, community, and creation, and identifying, where am I today? Where do I want to go? And what do I need to do to make it that way? And it was in this meeting that I had with my buddy, Andrew Weiss, that I unlocked that last piece that I talked about. I always figured out what I needed to do, but I wasn't consistently doing it after that. Okay. So I finally figured out how to do that. And it was this accountability that, my friend wanted to dunk a basketball. So he needed to do these certain jumping exercises the whole summer. That was our conclusion. I wanted to lose weight. So I was like, hey, when I lost weight in the past, what did I do? I looked back in my phone, because I documented, by the way, and I saw that I was running that summer. I ran and walked and did some pull-ups. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'll run every day for 100 days. If you do your jumping exercises every day for 100 days, I'll put up $500 and you put up $500. If one of us doesn't do it, then the other person gets the money. So it brought in this put your money where your mouth is mentality, as a very competitive type of person too. But also, we didn't realize it at the time, but we created a content strategy that actually documented what we were doing and actively working on when it came to our principles and our values. And when I went home and told my fiance about this, she's like, that's exciting. I want to do it too. So by long story short, we showed it on social media. We had about 5 people join in the next few days. So $2,500 in the pot, but each one of us were documenting for 100 days, that whole summer, what we were doing to improve ourselves in either health, wealth, happiness, or health, wealth, or spirit, all these different categories. And when we finished that, we had all this content that we could repackage and repurpose. But also what we were showing was, hey, we do this. We can prove we do it. And if you need that result, this is where I was, this is where you want to go. You can literally show them exactly how you did it. So now you ask, the reason I had to give all that background is you asked, like, how do you start to feel confident on camera? Well, one, you do it, because I'll tell you, I did 100-day challenge, doing a video every day, still didn't feel comfortable. I told myself I had to do it for 5 minutes because I found myself cheating, doing like 2 minutes, doing it really short. Still didn't feel comfortable after 200.
Wow.
Told myself, all right, live stream every day for 100 days. Still didn't. And then I told myself, live stream and tell a story every day for 100 days. In that 400 days of challenges. But at the end of that 400 day, people said, dude, you're so natural. Like, that's what you do. Like, I was known as that guy. It was like when I did my first challenge, I wasn't a runner sitting at Starbucks, way overweight and feeling obese. But at the end, I had posted every day for 100 days, me running a mile. Everyone knew, thought, and saw me as that. And also that I was someone that was disciplined and accountable. So not only did I elevate my credibility in these people's minds, all of a sudden I started to tap into some authority that I can now talk about running because I was showing that I was doing it every day. So lastly, what I just wanted to hit on is, you're going to have these phases as you're going forward. So if you don't feel confident on camera, do it until you start to feel that, because you're going to start to have that credibility in your own mind. Your own mindset's going to say, you know what, I do this. I have done it enough. I just need to get out of my head and start bringing it out there. And then as you start doing it, you're going to start to have authority in the space. And for me, the reason that's important, because I talked about what my end goal was, being that influencer, having influence. So then we're thinking now credibility, which leads to authority, which is going to lead me to that end result of influence. And that's where doing things like this with someone like yourself on this scale, on this platform, being able to share with your audience, like this is where I'm telling you right now, like we're just documenting history every step of the way. So that's what we're excited to do, is just essentially turn our lifestyle into our content strategy for our business. But, use that as, untapped potential. Who knows where it's going to lead us.
Fantastic. Wow. Having a story like that you're just documenting what you're doing, whether you're a chiropractor creating a new system, or you're helping a client improve from zero, a pain of a 10 down to a pain of 2 or 3, and you document that's power. Or you've got a training program and you're showing them step by step by step. You're not giving them necessarily the how that they can go home and do it themselves, but you're showing them the results along the way.
Yeah.
That's the documentation. That's the big aha I'm taking from this. It's no longer that sales strategy of curated content. Right.
Exactly.
It's so authentic of the results that you're producing. And I think it's fantastic.
And you said something so exciting that's, we're just starting to tap into, because, we were building this in our own heads for a long time. And then, you build things in a bubble, and that's where, investing in coaching and, masterminds and surrounding yourself with other people, that you start to open up that eggshell and you start to unravel the onion and really get at the heart of what you're trying to do and serve. What you said too is like, if I can do that for myself, it's great. I know I've already know the benefit of me documenting. I know if I want to have a conversation about what I did, the first day I joined my first high level mastermind, I literally have documented evidence of multiple things from that day. Right. And I can create and craft this whole story that's much more compelling. So story selling is something that was really critical here. But what's beneficial is when you can start to have your customers feel that they can document their journey, so they can see that transformation. So they can, when you can help them document where they are before, Marcia, the profit and business strategist, came into their life, where they were, a week out, 2 weeks out, a month out, a quarter out. If they can document that and see how they're spending their time, or how they're just, their feelings are changing, or their profit is changing, I think it's really exciting. There's so much untapped potential, but that's where we want to go. And helping people, encourage them to have this courage to document and create these assets for themselves, but also for others to learn from. Sorry, I just keep going on little
boom. Boom, no. I never, ever thought, and this is the big aha that we're going through here, is I never thought, I guess I never thought to ask my clients to document, because whenever you sell something, for whatever reason, I'm in the information world and in the consulting and coaching side. So, people are always afraid of, well, how did you get there? Or what did you do? Or I'm not going to get those same results. But if you have them documented and you show that the improvement. So just as an example, I was writing for one of my programs, and I was writing a testimonial that I had experienced through my customer, and she had started her business and said, okay, our goal is 250 this year, and we only have 9 months, and she exceeded that to 375. And then she said, okay, my next year it's going to be, since we did 375, I'm going to do 5. It was in COVID, and she actually produced 775 out of it. It was like, wow. And so it was the journey that was so much more impactful than the end results. It's how she did it.
And something as well that I think of, if anyone wants to have a business that, they do want an exit strategy down the road, they do want to sell out, having that documented story of, the origin or what you did, that is so compelling. Those are media assets that brand or that business could potentially have, that really creates a compelling story on, how this company has been, how it got its roots, what it did to start, how it's making changes, what significant impact it's had on its customers and its services with its services. So it's
and
an
how does that
strategy.
look to a buyer? How does that look to a buyer to go, hey, I've got a history or a journey of where this business has come from and how it got to this, where I'm buying it and I can continue that story. Yeah.
no, like, and trust factor just goes through the roof. And that's where we want to help people be ahead of the trend. It was Gary Vee talked about, document, don't create. And that's because there's such a throttle of when you do it to create, your time is going to be so much time is going to be spent on creating that perfect asset or creating that perfect grouping of assets. You're behind the times by the time it gets out there, right? Like there's almost so much of a life cycle of the demand with how quickly things are changing, how quickly new software is popping up and new services are coming up and creating new solutions. So, having that opportunity to document, don't create, but then using that as your content strategy, he's saying we need to be putting out 100 pieces of content every single day. And for anyone like myself, my gut just sinks into my stomach. Like my heart just falls into my stomach. And it's like, that's impossible. I can't do that. And that's the question. When I saw that presentation, he gave it in New Zealand in 2018. One, I had already listened to him on Snapchat. I listened to him on many different features. So I knew he was ahead of his times. I just didn't know how ahead and how accurate he was. And now that you see the Facebook and all of these, large behemoths that control all the attention are shifting towards creative and creators and getting collaborations and how much content they want people putting out, it's because all of people's attention is spent on that one place. It's that glowworm, that phone, that we all look at in our mobile devices where we spend our attention. So how can we dominate, whatever it is with your business, it's having that many assets. And to get started, if you're not documenting, that could be 23 tweets. It could be 50, Instagram posts every single day though. That is difficult, but that's where I task myself I want to get to a place where I can do 100. And just for myself, we're over 200 per week. We're actually around 469 per week, but it's that progress. It's that process of, all right, what does it take? Because instead of saying that's impossible, I can't do it, I started saying, well, how can I do that? What can we do? What processes, what systems, what automations can we put in so that's actually possible? And that's where documenting the way we do with our process has led us to be able to almost now hit that number. And that's why it's going to be exciting. I know when we do our revisit of a podcast or, have another one here, it's just going to be like, all right, we're hitting that 100 per day. Now, what's 800 or what's 200 per day? That's where we're really going, because there's so much content being put out there. And there's such an amazing ability for the algorithm or the social networks to put the right content in front of the right people, where you can build this contextual relationship, for people that have been missing out on Facebook ads and Instagram ads for the last 3 years. If you could go into a certain area, a certain country, and contextually, for example, the United States, make an advertisement for every state and separate it that much, the engagement just highly outperforms, hey, what's up, everyone? Join my social influencer group, or hey, what's up, Oregon? Join my social influencer group, right? Like, it is just so much more contextual, and the more contextual we can get with our content, the stronger we're going to build those relationships with the right people. So I was circling.
Okay. So I'm overwhelmed because I can't do 100 posts a day,
Love
But
it.
when
Love
you
it.
think about it though, if you start, and you're using different media outlets and
Yeah.
contents and pieces and phone calls and text messages and emails, and it's possible to hit that and
Yeah.
hitting that up. But I think that for us, not everyday people, but us
Yeah.
people that aren't influencers the way
Yeah.
that you want to be an influencer,
Right.
it's still important to put something out of value and
Yes.
document that on a regular basis. And that
Mhm.
regular basis could be one time a day to your world, because
Right.
people for we're on a 7-second memory,
Yeah.
and distracted with squirrels and shiny objects that are constantly pulling us away. And if you can get in front of your ideal customer on a
Mhm.
regular basis, meaning daily,
Yeah.
several times a week, then you're going to be in front of mind when they're ready to make that movement.
So good. So good.
Instead of going, oh, what was that girl's name that I saw? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there's another lady over here, another guy over there. And you lose track. All that work you spent to obtain a customer
Mm-hmm.
is insane, how expensive customers are to obtain. And if you could drop that by being point of mind
Mm-hmm.
when they're ready to make their decision, or influence or lead them to make that decision with you versus somebody else, then
Mm-hmm.
it didn't cost you as much.
Right. Right. And you're building this relationship that, it's not just that one-off sale. You're creating that customer for life, right? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
can you build that know, like, and trust factor at scale for a long period of time? And that's where, I love that you said, like, for people that are normal. I'm not saying people need to
I didn't
publish
say
100
normal. I didn't say
times per
normal.
day. No.
I tried not to.
For people not crazy. No, I'm just kidding. But essentially it's, it's for our goal, and we have a very specific goal in mind, right? So like our clientele or our business is about that personal brand and that influencer status, but that's not necessarily what's true for everyone's business. But just knowing that there's people that are publishing 100 times per day, and some of our listeners, because I was there, probably haven't published 100 times this year. That should make you a little nervous and sick that your competitor could potentially be creating that much more stronger of a relationship because they're putting so much more content out there. So just getting started is the key there, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry if it's one piece of content. If you haven't published at all this year, get a piece of content out there. Challenge yourself to do it the next day. Challenge yourself to maybe just do it the next week, whatever it is, but just get started. That would be my number one thing that I just want our audience to say, just get started. Like, start putting it out there, but also in the wave
of value.
Yeah, 100%. Start giving value, right? But also value can be timestamping who you are at that point in time and what you think you're here to serve, and just having a piece, like talking in a quick Snapchat video or Instagram story, or even just putting a video that you take on your camera roll and post it to Instagram or Facebook saying, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is who I want to serve next, right? Like, bring this out there so you can start. And then when you get started, you're going to start to find the ways, and it's going to take time, right? I think that's what's so critical. Until you get to the level where you can hire a team like Synergy to come out and manage this all for you, you're going to need to learn how to do a lot of this yourself. And that's why reducing the pressure that it always has to be some pristine, curated, authentic piece of content.
Perfect.
Versus showing up is most important first, and then also providing value on the back end. While my number one focus is just making sure that you're thinking about who you're showing up for. And sometimes I think we always think about our customer, but also remember, show up for yourself too. Like,
Yes.
You really want to show up for yourself. You really want to show up and attract that right person. So what I'm saying there is, don't be inauthentic. Don't say the things that are just going to bring the right people in your business, knowing that you're not actually wanting to work with them, or maybe reconsider what you're doing. Because when you have the opportunity of time, let's use it to make that positive influence. That's my number one goal for people.
Woohoo! Like it a lot. And there's so many opportunities. If you think about watching TV, I don't know who watches much TV anymore with all the streaming, but there's the same commercial that hits you 4 times in an hour. And then you go to the next show, and then it's another commercial, and then that one pops up again. And it's about repetition. And I think
Yes.
that's the piece, and you have to just get started. So this has been a real great lesson, Cade. This has been helpful. And I know many people are fearful of
Mm.
putting out content, but just be yourself and
Yeah.
document what you're doing.
So good.
Fantastic. Love it.
So good.
So, Cade, where
Awesome.
can listeners find out more about you?
Yeah, no, I'd love to connect. They can, we put together a little worksheet for anyone as well, wants to grow their influence, their credibility and authority. So www.synergycollab.com/worksheet. But then Instagram, it's KAID Collins, and our YouTube channel, KAID.TV. I'm
TV.
really appreciate all the time. It's been an absolute privilege. And again, I just want to encourage people, get started. And if you're started, start scaling and showing up more authentic. That's the key.
And not curated, authentic,
Yes. Not
real,
curated
true,
authenticity. Authentic. That's going to be a big one. I love it.
That's okay. I only charge you 20%.
Perfect.
Love it. All right, listeners, thank you for listening today. I hope you found an idea or two or 5 or 6 to put into your business that will help you be more profitable. And that involves being and creating and putting out that authentic content. So now more than ever, it's important to build your own profit plan. So don't forget to pick up my 6 tips that will help you provide increased profitability right now. Go to my website, trajectorybiz.com. That's B-I-Z. Cade and I would love to hear your questions or feedback, and please subscribe and comment on today's show. As always, you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players, and we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks, Cade.